Welcome into the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton, and once again, that is not Wade Neely. That, my friends, is the OG J.P. Plant sitting in for Wade as Wade continues to be on vacation for, today and for the early portion of next week. Actually, we expect Wade back on Friday, hopefully. But in the meantime, JP is going to be here with me for the next couple of hours as we touch on sports topics of local, regional, and national interest, and excited to do so. Also excited to have JP. Good afternoon, sir.
Mo, the Hall of Famer, it sounds like Wade is on one of your vacations that just, kind of gets extended and then extended and then extended. And
well, he is on one of my vacations in that he is on a cruise, but he's on an Alaskan cruise. And,
wow.
We've kind of talked about that, but I just don't know that I want to go on vacation anywhere where it might be cold.
No, you are not a cold weather climate type of person. That's for sure.
As long as you've known me, you've known that.
Yes.
So no, I'm not trying to be cold, and I'm certainly not trying to spend any money to do so. But that said, I hope Wade and his entourage are having a good time on their Alaskan cruise. I think they were either going out of or coming into Vancouver.
Oh wow!
Which this time of year might be pretty cool.
Yeah, it's
in more ways than one.
Yeah, it's a city I've never been to. I've been to several Canadian cities, but Vancouver, I've always heard, is phenomenal. So if nothing else, the trip is probably worth it just for that.
Yeah, I've never been to Canada, actually. I think I'd like to go to Toronto. Sounds really cool from folks that I've talked to who have been there. And but yeah, it would have to be certainly sometime in this time frame because again, I ain't trying to be cold. But at any rate, we got a pretty good show today. Got a really good show today. And I hate that we missed y'all yesterday. If you came here looking for us, you didn't get here because we had some technological difficulties that prevented us from airing yesterday. And it was really unfortunate, but we're going to try to make up for it here over the next couple of hours. In the second hour, we'll be joined by Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 talking a little college baseball. They are underway with the first game out in Omaha. Coastal Carolina and Arizona are playing. They will play a second game later today, a couple tomorrow, including, in a lot of people's eyes, the headliner in the nightcap tomorrow night. But we'll get into all of that with Chris Lee from Southeastern 16 in the second hour. In the next segment, we will be joined by Donnie Renner of the Nashville Lions cage. And this is a fascinating little deal here that Donnie has, and he's going to talk to us about that again in the next segment. Looking forward to getting a little educated on what he's got going with the Nashville Lions cage. We will also talk a little college athletics, some football, and some front office administrative stuff, the house settlement. We'll talk a little Braves baseball. Hope springs eternal, even at 9 games under 500.
It's still early, Mo. Still early.
It is getting later, though, JP. So,
we balance each other. You're the cynic and I'm the optimist. So that's
no, I'm the realist, dude. But yeah, we'll get more into that later in the show as well. Also, those sounds, a little hockey, because last night was more than I could handle. Literally, I had to go to bed at some point. We'll talk more about that. But those that stayed up got quite the show. NBA finals continue as well. U.S. Open is in round 2 right now, and the cut line is a lot closer for some folks than they would like. We'll get into that later in the show as well. And again, it is the weekend warm-up. We'll get you all ready for everything that's coming up this weekend, including the Nashville Soccer Club going on the road. Little spring football championship action this weekend. A Arena League team trying to secure a playoff spot. All that and more in the weekend warm-up segment to close the show. So again, a lot going on, a lot to get to. JP and I are going to get to it And let's go ahead and get started with that, Mr. Plant, with yesterday's results and this weekend schedule on the rundown.
This is the rundown.
In Major League Baseball yesterday, it was the Astros over the White Sox 4-3, and in AAA, the Sounds fall to New Orleans 8-7.
No.
Nope.
Norfolk.
Thank you. New
Norfolk.
Orleans. Yeah, Norfolk. That's right.
There we go. Yeah.
Norfolk.
Yeah,
say
that's
right.
it.
Norfolk. It's a loss for the Sounds.
Yes.
Baseball. It's another day, and they are on tap. More on that in just a moment. We've got Braves baseball today as they are hosting the Rockies. 6:15 is first pitch. Also, the Twins are in Houston to take on the Astros tonight at 7:10. The Sounds, as I mentioned, they are in Virginia in the Tidewater region, by the way. 5:35 first pitch for the Nashville Sounds. WNBA action tonight. Chicago at Atlanta and Dallas at Las Vegas. And game 4 tonight, NBA Finals, OKC and Indianapolis. And that'll be, or Indiana in Indianapolis, 7:30. ABC will have game 4 tonight as, was it 2-1 OKC? Is that right?
No.
2-1 Indy.
It's 2-1.
2-1 Indy. I saw the first game, so I knew Indy stole a game in game 1 with the dramatic comeback. So a thrilling series there, and that's the schedule for today. Mo.
Tomorrow's schedule, Major League Baseball. The Twins continue their series in Houston against the Astros. That is a 3:10 first pitch. Also at 3:10, the Rockies and Braves continue their series at Truist Park. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. At 5:35 tomorrow, the Sounds in Norfolk continue their series. And you can hear the golden tones of Matt Hers stepping in for Jeff Hem on this series on 94.9. If you want to listen to the Sounds. Major League Soccer. Tomorrow night, it's a 7:30 first touch as the Nashville Soccer Club goes to Chicago, taking on the Fire at Soldier Field. Again, 7:30. It's on Apple TV. We'll be talking more about that later in the show. WNBA action tomorrow. The Los Angeles Sparks travel to the Minnesota Lynx. That is a 12 noon start. It will be shown on CBS at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon on ABC. It's the unbeaten New York Liberty and the Caitlin Clark-ish Indiana Fever.
Clark's on the bench.
No,
right?
no, she's
Is she
supposed
back?
to play tomorrow.
Is
She's
she
back. Yeah, we'll talk more about that later in the
Right.
show as well. Yes, ABC is really excited about that fact too, I'm sure. In Arena Football 1 tomorrow evening, the Nashville Cats will play the Corpus Christi Tritons in the regular season finale for both those teams. That game will be played at F&M Bank Arena in Clarksville. Again, 5 o'clock kick for the Cats and the Tritons, and we'll talk more about that later. On Sunday, 12:35, Rockies and Braves wrap up that series at Truist Park. 12:35 again is the start time for that one. You can see it on FanDuel Sports. At 1:10, Minnesota and Houston finish up. At 12:05 here, the Sounds will close out their 6-game series in Norfolk and probably be glad to do so. We'll talk more about that again later in the show. WNBA Sunday action, 11 o'clock. It's the Chicago Sky and the Connecticut Sun on CBS. 1 o'clock, it's the Atlanta Dream at the Washington Mystics. You can see that one on the CBS Sports Network. And at 5 o'clock Sunday evening, the Phoenix Mercury travels to Vegas, taking on the Aces. Ladies and gentlemen, that is your rundown. Your top story brought to you as always by the fine folks at Piggly Wiggly in Neely's Mill in Columbia. Be sure and check out their delicious daily deli lunch options available from 11 a.m. until 6 p.m. Also, their hand-cut meats, and everything is cost plus 10% at the cash register. Piggly Wiggly, Neely's Mill, Columbia, bringing you our top story. And again, we've talked about the House settlement. Fortunately, we've been able to have other folks on the show who know a little bit more about it than we do. We visited with Tony Siracusa from The Last Word on Sports on Monday, regarding this situation. We also got some input from Lee DeLeon of MTSU's athletic department. He's a deputy AD over there. Had him on Wednesday. Chip and I did, to talk about the situation. And as we've talked through this, we knew that it was a case of not if, but when someone challenged this settlement that was handed down last Friday night. Well, as we kind of conjectured, 8 former NCAA women athletes are appealing the decision by U.S. District Judge Claudia Wilkin to grant $2.8 billion in back pay to former athletes. They have taken the structure of payment into question, saying it violates Title IX's gender equity status. And, you know, again, it's understandable. The House settlement used a formula where football and men's basketball athletes who receive full scholarships from Power 5 conferences from June of 2016 to September of 2024 will receive 90% of that $2.8 billion. Women's basketball athletes will receive 5% of that $2.5 billion. And all other athletes will split the remaining 5%. So again, 8 women's athletes are arguing that Title IX would not have allowed for male athletes to have been paid 90% of the total revenue. And among the 8 women athletes that are challenging this is former Vanderbilt women's distance runner Casey Breeding. So, localizing this, bringing it a little close to home here, but you know, again, I don't know that 90% is a good number. I don't know that it's not. That's above my pay grade, but I can certainly see why, if you were a women's collegiate athlete during that time and you see that those specific sports are going to get 9/10 of that 2.8 bill number, and everybody that did not play men's basketball, women's basketball, or football is going to split the other 5%. Yeah, I can see where that might kind of make you say, whoa, hold up. The math ain't math in here.
Yeah,
So,
it's you know, one thing for certain we knew is as you mentioned, there would be lawsuits because it just didn't seem like it would hold water. You know, I think in the big picture, this is all part of the process that's going to get us to a point to where I think eventually we'll be better. But I think we're going to have to go through some of this stuff. And yeah, the numbers, I don't know how you even all that out and do the math. But you know, you know, once you open Pandora's box on a lot of this stuff, you're just going to have to face this one by one, unfortunately. So it's going to be a little rocky for the next couple of years until we can get to a point to where we actually have a body, an institution of some fashion, an organization that is overseeing this. Because, I mean, let's face it, the NCAA is really not doing that right now.
no, the NCAA has pretty much been rendered toothless by all of the challenges that they have taken on and lost here over the last few years. But I think you're right in that the devil is going to kind of be in the details as far as getting all this ironed out and, you know, revamping some of those formulas before you start distributing the money and that kind of thing. Because, I mean, I don't know what 5% of 2.8 billion is. I could probably figure it out. But, you know, when you start spreading it out over, you know, baseball, softball, tennis, track, men's and women's soccer, you know, everything else, volleyball, all of those sports, I don't think it's going to go very far. When you talking about those sports, all of the athletes that were involved for the period of time that you're dealing with, I mean, it ain't going to be much.
No,
But
and there are more players in that 5% group than there are in the 90% by a large margin, I would imagine.
you would think.
So
So
it's not going to go very far. But I think it's just another step in the process that we're going to have to take, because there was no greater vision for the greater good, hasn't been for a long time. So we've just got to go through all this stuff.
that's the thing. And we talked with Tony Siracusa from the Last Word on Sports earlier this week. We talked to Lee DeLeon from MTSU on Wednesday, and kind of asked them both. Hindsight is always 20/20, but if you are an administrator at a major college at this point, or have been over the past 20 years or so, don't you kind of wish you had been a little bit more proactive in terms of compensating athletes maybe a bit more fairly at some point, and maybe we wouldn't have gotten to this point? And I think that's got to be the way a lot of them feel, because now they've kind of got a gun to their head, and they've got to do something that, had they done it equitably and fairly earlier, I think athletes probably could have said, cool, it's something. I think they just wanted something rather than being told,
Yeah.
you got a scholarship. What more do you want?
That's right. Yeah, and I'm sure that there were a lot of those individuals that you posed that question about that probably felt that way. I think the issue may have been, how do you get your voice heard amongst the movers and shakers, the big time conference commissioners? How do you get to that level to try to make this point? And I just think that was a mountain too far to climb for a lot of these people. That what do you do? I mean, you can say something, but is it really going to matter? Is anything going to happen? So they probably felt a little handcuffed.
Yeah, I'm sure they did. And again, the people that could have listened wouldn't listen. And I think once the athletes figured out, okay, they're not gonna listen, we got to figure something out, and hey, we'll just take them to court.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start getting folks that don't necessarily have a background in athletics dealing with athletics, and we're seeing it in other avenues as well, you don't necessarily want those people making those decisions for you.
Yeah.
So, beware. Again, Casey Breeding is one of the 8 women involved with this. You've also got a former University of Virginia athlete and 6 from the College of Charleston, each of whom competed in soccer, volleyball, or track. So, these are folks who typically are pretty far down the pecking order when it comes to talking about revenue sharing and that kind of thing. But again, looked at 5% of 2.8 billion and just thought this doesn't make sense. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's almost you're just kind of making a point. It's not for the money. You're just making the point that, hey, we got to move towards something that appears to be more equitable. Because there's been a lot of work done over a long period of time to get to where we are, and we shouldn't be going backwards.
Yeah. Let's take a break here on the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, we'll be joined by Donnie Renner of the Nashville Lions Cage. Stick around.
forest at Nashville Zoo. New creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo. Opening June 20th.
Busy bee, yeah, busy bee. If you need
Hold on, y'all, hold on. I need to make a call. Hey, this is Brianna with Busy Bee. I'm giving you a call to let you know your technician is on his way.
833.
Oh, busy bee. Guys, not yet. Not yet.
Busy bee, oh,
Now
busy
ready,
bee.
guys.
Call 775-7833.
Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's JP Plant sitting in for the vacationing Wade Neely. We ain't jealous or anything, but,
No.
you know.
I'm happy to be here, Mo.
Well, I'm glad to have you, man.
Any day with a Hall of Famer is a good day.
Stop it. Stop it. Nick Campbell, your buddy,
Yes.
from down that way, reached out to me over the weekend and about something else and was talking that HOF stuff. And you started all of that. And you know how much that bothers me. But anyway,
That's why we do it.
yeah, with friends like y'all. We're pleased to have with us right now Donnie Renner of the Nashville Lions Cage. And Donnie, first of all, good afternoon. Thanks for taking some time with us on this rainy Friday.
Thanks for having me on the show, Maurice. I'm really happy to be here. That invited me is an entrepreneurship.
Hey, let's back out.
Okay, yeah.
We're gonna echo.
We've got some audio concerns there. Yeah, let's drop Donnie out for a second, bring him back in, and see if we can get that corrected. But this is a pretty unique situation that we're hopeful of getting Donnie to talk to us about. The Nashville Lions Cage is it's a hitting simulator. It's a baseball batting simulator, and they've got the capability of like recreating various stadiums and that kind of thing. And I again, Donnie's way more equipped to discuss this, and hopefully we can get him back to do so. But it's really fascinating, really unique, and it's something that is available to the public to check out.
Mo, I would, looking at this, it has the exact feel of a golf simulator. For anybody that has been in a golf simulator where you swing into a big screen, and then it's got the projector and shows you, on a real course somewhere how far it goes, and you get all that information, and you basically play a round of golf. And this is kind of the same thing. It looks like you can have home run derbies, you can play real baseball games, and it's got the simulators. I believe it says all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums. So you get that feel of how difficult it can be to actually hit the ball out of the park of a Major League park, especially with wooden bats, right?
I would think so. And we've got Donnie back with us to hopefully either refute or deny what we've just said. Donnie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you well. Can you hear me?
There we go. Yes,
All
yes,
right.
and you sound a lot better, man. We
Good.
appreciate that. Yeah. Tell
Yeah.
us about the Lions Cage.
Yeah, well, and what I was trying to say earlier is thank you so much for having me. Thank you for giving a spotlight to entrepreneurs, business owners in Nashville. Love your show. I love the realness of it all. So thank you so much.
We
I think
appreciate
you
that.
guys get, yeah, no, thank you. I think you guys got it right. We are a mobile batting cage simulator and experience built right here in Nashville. And we do let people hit home runs in major league stadiums. We actually have a few others too. So we've got Vandy and some other minor league ballparks too. So it's the choice is yours as a player. It is built for everybody just to have a really good time. I will refute one part though. It is not so much about showing people how difficult it is, but it's more about the opportunity of giving everybody the chance to pick up a bat again and feel like a kid essentially. And we can bring this experience right now to events and breweries and festivals, corporate outings, and things like that. So we're having some early success. We just got off the ground, and we're just looking to partner with a lot of other great people in Nashville right now.
Any injuries to report as of yet?
None yet. There are some disclaimers, of course, when you walk into the cage, there are some disclaimers, but we pride ourselves on this being extremely low impact. We are not hitting real baseballs. We are hitting a softer polymer vinyl ball, which feels really good off a very light wooden bat. So this is very much accessible for all kinds of parties and all kinds of players. So we have actually had MLB players play in our cages before at open houses and things like that. They do well, but for everybody that hasn't picked up a baseball bat in maybe 30, 20 years or whatever, they said we can gauge their ability to hit a home run in a park. So they're not hitting, little dribblers to the pitcher's mound. We can kind of amp up because it's all software based. We can amp up their abilities so that they're out in Coors Field crushing them out there. So yeah, it's certainly for everybody. There's of course a little bit of risk though, maybe, right? You're swinging a bat. Yeah.
Well, I guess my bigger concern was folks who haven't picked up a bat, like you said, in a while, suddenly trying to crank one out and the dreaded oblique injury or something like that from over swinging, guys who were once athletes who think they're still athletes and aren't athletes. You know who you are. Trust
Mo,
me.
that's me. That is me. I think our first test runs on the Lions cage is exactly what you just said. I woke up the next day and couldn't turn my abdomen either way because you get carried away. And that competitive, we all kind of have that competitive spirit. It's about bringing that back to everybody. Yeah.
And you see somebody hit a home run and you think, well, if they can hit one, I can hit one. And the next thing you know, you can't move. So
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
But it's all in fun though, and we're just having fun. But Donnie, where did this idea come from?
Yeah, I graduated from Belmont University College of Business for MBA years ago, and for a very short stint was running alumni events for the College of Business, Jack C. Massey, and we did a couple at the Sound Stadium. They were really great. And they have a great setup there in the off season where you can, you get coolers of beer in the dugout and you get to have fun. You get to go shag balls and you get to hit off a pitcher's or, off a pitching machine. And one thing we found out is that a lot of people and this is, like a 50, 60 mile an hour pitching machine. It's going right down the pipe, same spot every time. But we found a lot of people that hadn't played baseball competitively or any sort in a long time did really well. And the events were great, but they were a little bit of a logistical nightmare with that group and for the events that I personally was throwing. So we thought there's got to be a way to modify this a little bit and make it accessible that maybe if you've aged out of baseball, that your only option isn't either bringing your child up through, and living vicariously through there, which is great. And the other option is being like a Thursday night softball league, which I've got 2 kids. I don't have time for it. So we want to give people the opportunity of maybe an hour or so. And maybe we position that with, a couple drinks and some food and stuff like that and make it kind of whimsical and fun. And we just didn't really see that opportunity anywhere. especially in Nashville where so much is happening with the sport of baseball all the time and historically as well. So it kind of felt like lightning in the bottle a little bit. And it's like, if nobody else is going to do this, let's be the group that does it. So yeah.
It does feel like lightning in a bottle. It feels like a great idea. And, no disrespect, but it's almost like, as we sit here in 2025, how did nobody else come up with that? Have you found anything like this anywhere else?
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Those are very kind words. And I do feel the same way. I feel like it was kind of almost reluctant entrepreneurialism where it's like, hey, if nobody's going to hop on this, I guess I'll do it. There are some other examples in the market, which is the best case, right? Because you can kind of toy with what has been proven in the marketplace. There are a couple people in the space down in Texas. There's a really big one called Home Run Dugout. There's a few in California. But it's really just getting started. We see a lot of them, actually, surprisingly. HitTrax, who provides our software and hardware, as far as the actual sensor, right, of what's picking up the ball and projecting it. They do a lot of business overseas. There's more of these kind of style event spaces with baseball in other countries, which is surprising. But it seems like, well, we miss Nashville here at some point. We like, if we're doing this anywhere, we should have it here. So and on top of that, I tell people I wouldn't start a business anywhere else. I wouldn't start this business anywhere else because Nashville is the best community of entrepreneurs and people really hacking it and trying to make it. There's no gatekeeping. There's a lot of I've just met so many great people through the Lions Cage and elsewhere. It's just awesome building this from the ground up in this city specifically.
Donnie Renner with Main Street with the Lions Cage joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Donnie, I'm curious, as I'm looking at your website, walk me through the process of how you actually swing and hit the ball. Is it because you talked about when you first kind of thought of this idea, you were actually pitching, right?
Yeah, and actually,
so how's this work now?
Yeah, that's a great question, JP. So we actually kind of want to get back to that, but to explain what we're doing right now is we want to make this low impact accessible for all types. We want your 8-year-old son to play with you, and we want that to be a competitive matchup too. And we've done that. There's 2 ways you can hit the ball. We have a on-demand soft toss pitching machine that sits right in front of you. You can smack them into a screen. That ball then. The trajectory of that ball will be projected onto our large LED panel screen and of a MLB field of your choice, as well as I said, a few universities. The other option too, for those players that maybe just feel like that might be a little challenging, we can hit off a tee. So any kids or anybody like that wants to step up and just whack it off the tee, it'll work just as well. So we've got it we can kind of gauge it for everybody. We've even got a couple different types of pseudo baseballs. One that really can kind of launch even further because it measures the velocity off the bat. So we've got another one that we can kind of put in there off the tee that really will spike the launch velocity even more. So we can have a lot of fun with it. It's a really engaging thing for events and parties. It really gets people moving in and out. Kind of what Mo said. You're not going to take a lot of hacks. You think you could do maybe 10 or 12. And then after you take about 5, it naturally, you kind of pass the bat off to another person, if you haven't done it in a while. So it really gets people moving in and out. It gets people interacting with each other. And that's the heart of it. That's what it's about.
Right now, you're a mobile entity, right? But I see you've got some plans to hopefully have a spot to where people can come to you and do a lot of other different things.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, JP. I appreciate that. We are right now fully mobile right now, so we can do indoor and outdoor events. We are having the LED panels that host our large screen that is being put on a trailer built by the wonderful people at Aero Build here in East Nashville. So that enables us to do indoor, outdoor events. We're very focused on this season right now, partnering with really great businesses, just getting a lot of the brand awareness and growth. Once we have that growth, we feel that next year we can get this permanently put in a space in Nashville. Where that will be, I don't really have answers on that quite yet, but we're moving quick on that. And we feel that this would be a really enticing offering for people in Nashville and for tourists and, all of the customer segments that we know too well. just to have a really unique experience when they're in Nashville, and something that is representative of people that built it here in Nashville. It represents a sport that's really important to our city, and they can leave with maybe a cowboy hat, but also maybe a little other flavor of what Nashville is, which is baseball.
Yeah, Mo, the pictures show a wiffle ball field, which, as kids growing up, that was a lot of fun to play. But having an actual turf wiffle ball field to where you can do regulator, that's Mo, that would be something I think you and I could even take part in.
It would be wild. It really would. Donnie, how easily can you switch from one stadium to another? I mean, when you get to an event, is the stadium already in place per se, or is that something that is something that can be changed mid-event?
Immediately for each single batter, we can go with your preferences. We can gauge the power of that batter too. So if we need to compensate or compensate very heavily for that batter, we can do it on an individual basis with basically no downtime. We can also run competitive games. It can be more than just a home run derby, which is great. We love that. The software will run double plays on you. It will catch fly balls. We can also gauge the software too if we want it to be more of a high school level person catching those fly balls, or maybe it's more of like a 10-year-old catching those fly balls, or maybe you get a few bloopers that drop in a little bit more. So we can really toy with it and kind of make it applicable to whatever event we're running. And it's all very fast. It's kind of a carnival style, step up and play and next person up.
I'll tell you what I like. I think one of my favorite factors in this is you've got walk-up music. You can tell them what you want playing when you step up, just like the major leaguers or the minor leaguers or the college guys or whatever. That's a really nice touch, I think. What has been the favorite event that you have done to this point, Donnie?
Right now, we've just kind of started right now, so we only have a little bit to work off of. But really, the corporate style events have been huge because you get a lot of people that are maybe wearing their nicest slacks or their dress shoes and things like that, and there might be a little initial apprehension to get in the cage. But we've provided it as an experience that is very welcoming and very low impact, low barrier to entry. So I really like seeing those people that maybe didn't think they'd be swinging a bat that day at their commercial real estate event or whatever, but maybe they step in and they feel like a kid again for 5 minutes. So yeah, I think that's the most enjoyable thing that I've seen so far with the events we've run.
Donnie, I'm curious, Mo, you mentioned about the walk-up music. Donnie, I see the guitars behind you.
Yeah.
What would be your walk-up song?
Oh man,
you're obviously a big music guy.
Yeah. I think if I'm really going back to like my roots as a young kid, right? If we're being kids again, I'm probably coming up with something Jimi Hendrix. I think I'm doing Purple Haze or something a little off the wall, man. Yeah, that's a little bit more my style. Yeah. What about you guys?
You went Jimi Hendrix. I would go with something like Hey Joe, but JP knows I'm a huge Prince guy. And I have a song in mind. The first word in the title is sexy, and we'll leave it at that. But
we'll do the after hours show. We'll talk about
it. JP, what would yours be since you brought it up?
I could go a lot of different ways, but what's coming to mind first, maybe because when I was playing baseball back in the 90s, I'm thinking Aerosmith, and maybe like classic Aerosmith, like a little Sweet Emotion. I don't know. I like the instrumental build up.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to do another conversation on this stuff purely because you're going to get me started on all those good records. Yeah, that's good stuff, JP. Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Donnie Renner of the Nashville Lions Cage joining us here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. You can see more about this at the website, thelionscage.com. Donnie, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, is all of the information to do that? there?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mo. There's multiple ways to contact us there through social media. There's a nice form there if you're interested in doing an event, and then you can keep up to date with us on all of our social media on maybe some more public-facing events that we have coming up very soon. So stay tuned. Thank you.
Absolutely. Donnie Renner of the Nashville Lionscapes joining us here on Main Street Sports today. We're going to take a break here, come back, talk a little real baseball. Stick around.
If you want the latest in weather conditions, be sure to tune in to our Busy Bee Plumbing Weather Report each weekday on Mornings on Main Street. Brought to you, of course, by Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. We will keep you updated on the latest conditions outside, like severe weather, heat, snow, rain, and even hail.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today.
In 1998, Javi Lopez and Andrew Jones went yah-yah, as Brian Jordan would say, in back-to-back at-bats in back-to-back innings to spark the Atlanta Braves to a 9-7 comeback victory over the visiting Montreal Expos. Lopez drove in Ryan Klesko, and Jones followed with a solo shot in the second inning to cut the host deficit to 4-3. And after a Michael Tucker RBI base hit, the duo pushed Atlanta ahead on a 2-run homer and a solo in the third. Tom Glavine scored a run and picked up the win despite allowing 11 hits in 6 2/3 innings. That was this day in Braves history.
Oh, it's great to hear those names, Mo. Oh,
that's
the best of my baseball childhood right there.
Absolutely. It wasn't my childhood, but it was still a lot of fun to watch. So we'd like to get back to that starting tonight, ideally. The Rockies come to town, but don't get it twisted. The Rockies, the worst team in baseball, 13-55. Atlanta is 29-38 coming into this. It'll be Herman Marquez, 2-8 with a 7 ERA going for the Rockies. Bryce Elder will go to the mound for Atlanta, 2-3 with a 4.08. The Braves coming off of a couple of wins at Milwaukee. They took game 1 in a 3-game series. They took the final game on Wednesday off yesterday. So the home team coming in with a little momentum, but the road team coming in with a little momentum as well, as Colorado walked off San Francisco last night 8-7. And right in the middle of that was former Brave shortstop Orlando Arcia, who had the 2-run game-winning single for the Rockies that got them to 13-55. Had they gone 12-56, it would have been the worst record over 68 games in Major League Baseball history. So,
It's a tough season.
again, it's a tough
That's a tough
season,
season.
but
That's a tough
but
record.
they've got a little momentum going. They've won their last one, and since they fired Bud Black, they are 4-5, so they're nearly 500, which is more than some teams can say.
Yeah.
But they had lost their last 5 prior to yesterday's win over San Francisco. But I'm saying all that to say this: while the Braves would like to think that this would be a get right series, don't be so sure. Again, Colorado got some pretty good vibes going there, and I can't imagine that Orlando Arcia wouldn't love to come back to Truist and get some get back for getting let go about a month or so ago by the home team. So
Yeah, you mentioned the momentum though. I think I've heard you say this, that in baseball, momentum is only as good as your next starting pitcher, right?
that is
So ultimately, looking at the records, Marquez with a 2-8 record and a 7 ERA, it's hard to feel confident with momentum for that. But you're right. And that's the nature of baseball too, Mo, is that anybody can win any day, and it's going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen.
And it seems to happen a lot these days with the Braves. Again, 9 games under 500. They've been, I think they were 1 game over 500 once this year, and just haven't been able to get things going consistently in the right direction. Haven't been able to hit on all cylinders. Again, pitching, defense, and pitching and offense. Starting pitching, relief pitching, and offense has probably been, the defense has been generally pretty solid. I can't really think of any situations. Maybe Austin Riley booted a ball or two that you wouldn't have expected him to. But for the most part, it's either been the starting pitching, the relief pitching, or the offense that hasn't necessarily performed up to expectations through this 29-38 start, which is 67 games. You are 67 games into a 162 game schedule. That means you've got 95 games left. So
Wow.
Again, to your point of it being early, it's getting later. Now, I will say this. In 2021, this isn't that team. But in 2021, they didn't get over 500 for good until August.
Yep.
I don't think. You know what happened in 2021.
Mhm.
So, I mean, again, hope does spring eternal, but there's not really a whole lot that you see when you're looking at this team and when you're looking at the rest of the league. I mean, you look out west at what the Dodgers and the Padres and the Giants are doing, and then you look at the NL East at what the Mets and the Phillies are doing, though they have kind of scuffled those two of late. But, if you are the Braves, you're going to have to – you really feel like you've got to get something going here pretty soon. And this would be a great weekend to do it, again, against arguably the worst team, not just in baseball, but historically one of the worst teams ever, it feels like. So it'd be nice to get something going this weekend.
Yeah, there is something to that, Mo, before we wrap up the Braves. About the whole momentum of the next day's starting pitcher, but you can break a season out in smaller groups, more than just a game, and you can look back at something like this that, if you do what you're supposed to, maybe get a sweep, that can, because confidence can breed momentum, and you get a couple of wins, it can get rolling along. So it just feel like it could be a turning point for the Braves this season if they can end up getting to where they want to be. It does feel like this could be a spot where we look back and say that's where it started.
And to that point, I don't think confidence is really an issue for this team. I don't think it's as much of an issue as maybe it ought to be given the results, but I don't think their confidence is necessarily wounded at this point. But if they could have a little success and maybe maybe they could kind of puff their chests out a little bit more and that kind of thing, and get something started. But I think this team expects to be good. I think right now it's not necessarily confidence. I think frustration is an issue. And if you can string some games together, maybe that becomes less of an issue for this team. So we'll see how it goes. I'll tell you somebody who's got a lot of confidence right now, and that's young Jacob Mizorowski, the former Nashville Sound, who made his major league debut last night for the Milwaukee Brewers, and all he did was throw 5 no-hit innings and strike out 5 against the St. Louis Cardinals, and would have done more had he not somehow sustained a leg cramp early in the 6th inning. It looks like from the video that he maybe caught a spike and did something awkwardly with his leg, and the Brewers, acting in the best interest of the youngster and taking no chances, went ahead and got him out. But again, 5 innings, 5 strikeouts, 3 walks, 81 pitches. By then, the Brewers had taken a 6-0 lead. That's what the final score was. So Mizorowski got his first win in his first start.
And how about this too? Of course, he's 6'7", but 14 of his pitches were above 100. Yep. Hit the triple digit, including the first 3 were all 100 or more. Welcome to the big leagues. Welcome to the show.
Yep,
well done.
Yep. And he was the show. His 5th pitch was 102.2. Those 14 100 plus pitches that he threw were more than every Brewer starter combined prior to last night.
Wow.
Since they started track and velo in 2008. So when you say bring in the heat, this guy is who you're referring to right there. And obviously Milwaukee is really excited to have him. Again, they picked up the win 6-0. Mizorowski out-dueling former Smyrna 2-sport standout, former Vandy boy, Sonny Gray. Sonny taking the loss there, only going 4+ in that one, falling to 7-2. So he's had a pretty solid season himself up there in St. Louis. Ex-Sound Andrew Ashby getting the save there for the Brewers, who they and St. Louis will square off again tonight. Meanwhile, it was announced earlier this week that Mizorowski was coming up and that he would take Aaron Savali's spot in the rotation. Savali, who went 4 2/3 innings, struck out 5, gave up a pair of earned runs against Atlanta on Monday night, and had never done anything other than start. They were going to bump him back to the bullpen. Savali says, you know what? I would just as soon go somewhere else. So the Brewers said, bet. Traded Savali to the White Sox, who we've talked about the Rockies. The White Sox are not a whole lot better, but traded Savali to the White Sox where he can start.
What does he think he's in college or something?
I don't know. He might think he's in college. He might think he's in college now, but Savali goes to Milwaukee in exchange for first baseman Aaron Vaughn. Not sure what the Brewers are going to do with Vaughn, given their situations both at first base and in the outfield, but they got something for him, and Savali will get to start for the White Sox. Have fun with that. The good thing about this for Savali is he will have the blessings of the Pope.
That's true. That's true. Do you
Pope
see,
Leo,
you see the picture with his hat? Is that where you're going?
That's where I'm going. A couple of
going?
days ago, Pope Leo the 19th, I'm sorry, the 14th, was photographed at the Vatican wearing a White Sox cap. And since he has been installed as Pope, the White Sox are 13-18. They were 10-28 prior to that. So, you know, having the
intervention,
having the blessings of the Pope certainly don't hurt. Now, it didn't help any last night. Houston with a 4-3 win yesterday. Astros took 2 games in that 3-game series. But again, you know, you got to feel like if the Pope is with you, who can be against you, right? Yeah. We mentioned the Sounds during the rundown. They dropped a 10-inning matchup to host Norfolk last night, 8-7. First 3 games of this series, Sounds have yet to win, so they will be looking to get in the win column again tonight, 5:35. But Anthony Ziegler continues his torrid pace, 1 for 3 at the plate, extending his on-base streak to 34 straight games, tying the International League high thus far this season. Again, Sounds looking for their first win at Norfolk when they get on the field at 5:35 Central Time tonight. You can hear it on 94.9 with Max Hers, Mike's side there. When the Sounds get back to First Horizon Park next Tuesday, get out there Wednesday. Tuesday is Tito's Tail Wagging Tuesday, but Wednesday is Rick Sweet Bobblehead Night.
There you go. Who doesn't love Bobblehead Night? Doesn't matter who it is.
Well, but especially Rick, I'm excited to see it. I don't know that there are any pictures up yet of the Rick Sweet bobblehead. Hopefully it's in the sombrero that he wore last year. I think that would be high quality there. But Rick's such a good dude, and I'm glad that they are recognizing their all-time managerial wins leader with a bobblehead night. So that will be Wednesday night out at First Horizon Park. Be sure and check that out.
Doing a callback from an earlier story we hit on this segment, speaking of bobbleheads, the White Sox, I wonder if they've considered doing a Pope bobblehead night.
Oh, what would you put him in, though?
No, he's got to wear the White Sox hat.
Got to wear the White Sox hat. Okay.
I mean, what do you think?
And the rest of the papal garments, I guess, and the White Sox cap, sort of like the picture.
Just like the picture, absolutely.
Yeah,
that's what I would do.
That would be stellar. It really would. Yeah. Hour number 1 of the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia, comes to a close right here. Oh, is that it?
Oh, the stash. I hope that's
it's
it.
One they have up.
Okay.
Oh, that's solid. That is solid and then some. Good pull, Mark. Good job. Hour number 1 comes to a close. When we come back, we will get into the grab bag here on Main Street Sports Today. Stay with us. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Zion Christian Academy at zioneagles.org or 931-388-7531. You can schedule your appointment to visit their beautiful campus. Again, zioneagles.org or 931-7531 to schedule your visit today. Custom Stone Handlers supplies over 600 distributors and suppliers with quality stone products. Along with Riverstone, we produce and distribute over 100 building, landscape, and other bulk products. Our goal is to provide quality products, service, and partnerships to ensure our customers' success. We firmly believe the measure of any person or company is how you treat other people and customers. Give them a call at 931-490-4990 or visit CustomStoneHandlers.com.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
It's hour number 2 of the weekend warm-up here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's JP Plant sitting in for Wade Neely, and let's get into the grab bag. Let's start on the ice. Through 3 games in the Stanley Cup Final, 2 of them had gone to overtime coming into last night. We got yet another last night as Edmonton rallied from an early 3-0 deficit, first period 3-0 deficit. They were down 3-0 going into the first intermission. Came back and scored 3 in the second period. We're up 4-3. Florida scores with about 20 seconds left to force overtime. And at that point, I said, you know what? I'm out. And I missed the best part apparently, but I one way or another, I was going to sleep either on the couch or in the bed. But Edmonton scores in overtime, ties it up 2-2 with that 5-4 overtime victory. The series goes back to Edmonton tomorrow night for game 5. So again, 3 of your 4 games to this point have been decided in overtime, which these 2 met last year in the Stanley Cup Final, and it went to game 7. And, you know, the way it looks right now, it's tough to think anything else is going to be your outcome this time around.
Well, there are a few things in the world of sports that are better than playoff hockey, overtime playoff hockey, and game 7 playoff hockey. If you're doing the hierarchy. And certainly you're right. I mean, with these 2 teams, as familiar as they are with each other, having done this now a second straight year, and
right,
there's you add a little rivalry tension to it as well, as opposed to just the stage of being Lord Stanley Cup on the line. So it is a fascinating series, and yeah, you got to be a strong fan to follow playoff hockey and the Stanley Cup hockey, because it's you can get into some marathons, but it's one of those things you can't peel your eyes away. You can't step away because it is that intriguing.
Yeah, it really is. And I mean, the only reason I peeled my eyes away was because I knew that they were going to fall shut at some point. But I mean, Draisaitl scores the game winner in overtime last night. His second overtime goal in 4 games. These, again, they played an overtime. They played a double overtime. They played overtime last night. And if nothing else, you got to watch this series just to see what's going to happen next. And certainly the 6-1 Panthers win in game 3, their first game back on home ice, was kind of the anomaly, it feels like, more so than anything else.
Yeah, and there's some really great talent. Of course, obviously these are the teams that are still left standing, but some great young talent on both of these squads, and it is fun to see that level of competition go back and forth, and kind of getting something similar in the NBA Finals too.
We'll get there in a second. Edmonton, coming back from down 3, became the first team to do so in the finals since Montreal defeated the Seattle Metropolitans in 1919. I'm sorry, the first road team. There we go. Only 6 teams ever have done it, and the rest were at home. So the only road team to do so in more than 100 years.
That's a long time.
That is a long time.
That's
I mean, again,
time,
it was the Canadians and, again, the Seattle Metropolitans, who no longer exist. So, yeah, it's been a while since a road team has come from down 3 to win a Stanley Cup Final game. So kudos to the Oilers for getting that done. Again, Game 5 tomorrow night in Edmonton, and hopefully I can catch a nap at some point and stay up for that one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Get your nap in. Make sure you got a cooler sitting next to you at the couch or the recliner.
A little pregame.
A little basketball. I mean, a little basket of snacks, because you got to stay hydrated and nutrified.
There we
That's what
go.
I'm calling it, nutrified.
I like
I don't
the
know
way
if I just made up a word, but I'm going with it. Nutrified.
NBA Finals, 7:30 tonight. ABC, Oklahoma City trying to get a split on the road after the Pacers did so in the first 2 games of the series. But man, I tell you, the way the Pacers are playing right now, it's I think it's got to be up in the air at this point. And obviously the Thunder going back home for Game 5, but man, you don't want to go back home with your backs to the wall. They obviously really like to get this one tonight.
Yeah, and coming into the series, of course, OKC was the best team in basketball all year, and handled the Western Conference as well they should. Indiana, was I guess the somewhat of the surprise, but you look at their roster and the way the guys are playing, it's not a surprise as good as they are playing. It's they've got some stars, and both of these teams, although OKC's MVP Shai is, while he is the MVP, he may not be as well known as others have been in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
So both of these are kind of under the radar teams from what you might know across the country. Of course, the Knicks had a good season, so they were a spotlight. The Lakers still have LeBron, so that's going to take a lot of attention. And so it's, these two were kind of under the radar to some degree. But I tell you, Indiana, with what they've done in the playoffs, with some of their comebacks, especially on the road, what they did to the Knicks, and then now what they've done again in Game 1 to OKC, it's almost like it's a destiny thing. I don't know if Pope Leo's wearing a Pacers hat too. I mean, maybe there's something going there.
It does make you wonder. All that said, though, the Thunder is a 6-point favorite tonight.
Yeah. Well, they should be. They probably should.
Well,
be.
they should be. Yeah,
they're the better team, or at least throughout the course of the year they have been.
Yeah,
and we're the clear favorite coming in
for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how this one goes tonight. NBA news away from the Thunder and the Pacers. Russell Westbrook,
former Thunder.
There we go. There's your tie. Former Thunder guard, current Denver Nuggets guard, soon to be free agent, Russell Westbrook, apparently is going to decline or has declined his player option for the 25-26 season and will test the free agent waters. Man, it's hard to believe Russell Westbrook is 36 years old.
I know.
9-time All-Star, former NBA MVP, this will put him in position to sign with his 4th team in 4 years. Averaged 13 points, 6 assists, 5 boards, and 3.2 turnovers per game with Denver this year. And is coming off of surgery on his right hand, apparently. So,
yeah, and Westbrook is. He's in his heyday. He was as good as anybody, and so much of it was the athleticism, and that was what was special about him. And so it's not surprising to see some of those numbers obviously come down. I mean, he's always been great across the board. Of course, that MVP season, I think he did finish averaging a triple-double, right?
I believe so.
That MVP season. So, but those turnovers have always been there. The shooting has traditionally been kind of low. Those have been the bugaboos on his game. And as he gets older, you mentioned his age, losing a little bit of that electricity in the jumping and the his ability to get up quickly. It's he's going to have to adjust his game if he wants to stay towards the top of that. And But somebody will get them. Somebody
No,
will
without
gladly take
question.
them.
Yeah. Again, you mentioned former Thunder. Since leaving Oklahoma City, he's been with Houston, the Wizards, the Lakers, and the Clippers, in addition to the spending this past season with the Nuggets. And we will see where he goes next, I guess. It'll be interesting, for all the reasons that you just mentioned, what type market there is for West.
Yeah, it's somebody out there will gladly take that explosiveness or the ability to do that. It probably will not be the Thunder again. They've got a pretty darn good point guard right now. So, who kind of is in a similar vein, probably I think handles the ball a little better, or at least not doesn't have as many turnovers. But but somebody will gladly take him for sure.
We mentioned earlier, I guess during the rundown, Caitlin Clark is set to play tomorrow when the Indiana Fever takes on the unbeaten New York Liberty. Clark has missed Indiana's last 5 games with a quad strain. It'll be interesting to see, just what the layoff has done, if anything, how she goes at it, how long they play her, that kind of thing, because you're not going to take any chances with her with that, and you feel like it's all the way back. But at the same time, quads and hams and that kind of thing are kind of funny things, and until you get out there and you're going full bore, you don't really know whether it's all the way back or not. And you'd certainly hate to see her suffer a setback. But
yeah, I would imagine they would kind of handle her a little easy, because let's face it, she is one of the preeminent faces of the game, and the surge that women's basketball as a whole has gotten, she has kind of been certainly on that lead train car, if you will, if not driving it all together. And so what she's been able to do, and the fans that have come out, and she is exciting to watch. And it's interesting to see how that enthusiasm has caught so many other players and other teams, and it's catching, and it's fun to see that women's basketball is getting to this stage now, and getting some of the limelight, and deservedly so.
Absolutely. Meanwhile, with Clark's return, the Fever were forced to release Ari McDonald, the veteran guard who they had signed as an emergency exemption because their roster had fallen below 10 players due to injuries. So they were able to sign her with Clark and with Sophie Cunningham out, and now they are back and she's gone. And it's kind of unfortunate. I think that there was some thought that maybe the Fever would figure out some kind of way to keep her around, but as of right now, that's not been the case, and they cannot re-sign her for 10 days unless they are granted another hardship waiver due to injuries. So we'll see how that goes, but I think they were pleased with what they got from McDonald while she was there. So that window's got to be open for them and for her, and keep an eye on that. U.S. Open is in round 2. And when we discussed this tournament at Oakmont earlier in the week, somebody, me, said that everybody else was playing for second, considering what Scotty Scheffler has done for the last few weeks.
Well, and you weren't alone, certainly. A lot of
I was not alone, but I feel I kind of feel alone because Scheffler has gone 73-71 and is in danger of missing the cut.
Yeah, and he's not alone. I mean, there's some other big names that are also kind of in that no man's land. Tony Finau, for one, former U.S. Open, won it the last time at Oakmont. Dustin Johnson, now with the Live Tour. Patrick Reed. By the way, did you see Patrick's albatross from
No.
yesterday?
Oh God.
On a par
No.
5, 286 yards, I think it was. Fairway wood. It was just a thing of beauty. It was unbelievable. But Patrick Cantlay, Justin Rose had a rough 2 days. Shane Lowry and Justin Thomas as well. So, of course, Oakmont, all the talk about it being the world's most difficult course, especially set up by the USGA with the extra things that they do with the rough. And, it's gone under that major renovation over the last few years to kind of harken it back to when the phones first started Oakmont. And they've tweaked a couple of things and added some bunkers. And, it certainly is a unique place and is on the USGA rotation now for U.S. Opens, along with Pebble Beach and a couple of others. So, but right now, Lawrence had it up to 6 under. He has since dropped a shot and has a 1-stroke lead right now at 5 under.
Right.
Spawn is still out there, and then Burns in with a 65 earlier today is 2 back at -3. So, the scores are about what we thought. And anybody, my Basset Down Penny there, anybody that is even over par, Mo, as we know with the U.S. Open, has a chance, because I've seen so many U.S. Opens where first round somebody shoots 5, 6 under, and the winning score is like a -2 or a -1. So they will come back. They will come back for sure. So it's going to be a fun weekend, and what a unique test of golf it is.
Well, certainly Scheffler and some other guys are hoping they come back, because he is in for the day and he's 4 over.
I think that'll make it in, Mo. I do.
Okay. Well.
I think so. It's because I think people have come back this afternoon a little bit, and coming into earlier today, they were looking at 7 over, and I don't think it's gone in the direction closer to 6 or 5. I think it'll probably be close to that. So I think Scheffler's probably safe. I hope so, because him on the weekend is fun to watch.
Yeah, and you'd kind of hate for the game, hate for the fans to be deprived of that on Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully that number will hold up. Southeastern Conference football kickoff time / television windows were announced earlier this week. Vanderbilt, Georgia State is a 6:30 kick. Vanderbilt, Utah State is an 11:45 kick at First Bank Stadium. It'll be breakfast with the Commodores in Austin on November 1st. They will play Texas at 11 o'clock. Their other games have been set for either early, afternoon, or night, with a couple of flexes there. Alabama is in a flex, and Missouri here will be either in the afternoon window or in the night window. The full slate, they are at Virginia Tech. That'll be a 6:30 kick in week 2. South Carolina will also be an evening game, either at 6 or 6:45. LSU is going to be an early game here on October 18th. There are 3 games to end the season. Auburn, Kentucky, and at UT are all set to be afternoon kickoffs. So Tennessee, meanwhile, will open against Syracuse. That'll be a morning matchup as well, 11 o'clock on ABC. Georgia is an afternoon game. Mississippi State at Starkville. Arkansas at Alabama. All 3 of those are flex games. Kentucky is set to be a night game up in Lexington. The Oklahoma game at Neyland will be a flex, as will Florida down there. And again, as we mentioned, they will host Vanderbilt in the regular season finale. That'll be an afternoon contest. So
I like seeing for Tennessee that Florida matchup late in the season.
Yeah,
I know in the heyday it was early, but I like seeing it in November.
well, I mean, it typically tends to, and it felt too early when it was early, just because what tends to be on the line when those two play. Now, Georgia has kind of surpassed them both, but still, you're right. It just feels like that game should be a little later in the year. Now, that said, they're playing Georgia week 3.
Yep.
So let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back to the weekend warm-up, we will check in with Chris Lee of Southeastern 16, talking little college baseball. Stay tuned.
Omaha.
Deep in a forest at Nashville Zoo, new creatures here for you to view. Phantoms graced in black and white swing high in trees of dappled light. In rocky crags, tall and steep, small antelopes with nimble feet. A wise old man with beard of white, a sentry perched on stony height. Amidst it all, a hunter lies, with coat of gold and steely eyes. A new adventure just for you. Leopard Forest at Nashville Zoo, opening June 20th.
Jones & Lang Sporting Goods here in Columbia has been outfitting teams, officials, and anybody else from T-ball to college for 50-plus years. Be sure and check them out at 931-388-8060 or online at jonesandlang.com. Jones & Lang Sporting Goods, the look of a winner.
Piggly Wiggly, located in Neely's Mill Shopping Center, is Columbia's locally owned and operated Cost Plus 10 grocery store dedicated to serving the community with low prices and smiling faces. Piggly Wiggly offers fresh, hand-cut meats daily, as well as daily hot plate lunches from their deli counter. You're certain to see smiling faces and a helping hand when you're here at Piggly Wiggly. Come by and check out our fresh produce, high-quality meats, and more. Down home, down the street, we'll see you at the Pig.
The weekend warm-up continues here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's JP Plant sitting in for Wade Neely. Let's talk a little college baseball with Chris Lee of Southeastern 16. Game 1 of the College World Series is underway between Coastal Carolina and Arizona. Chris, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon. Peeking over the top of my camera to keep an eye on it as we're speaking.
Well, unfortunately, I can't peek over the top of my camera. I have to kind of look up to my right. But it's tied 4-4 in the 7th. And I thought the Braves relievers had a couple of unfortunate surnames with Aaron Bummer and Scott Blewett.
Right.
Chris, let's talk about the guy that's on the hill for Coastal Carolina right now.
Yeah, Cam Flukie, he's a potential first rounder, I think in 27. Had a terrific year. He was not their starter today, but they brought him in, I think, in the 6th inning because it's moment of truth in Omaha. It's you lose one early and you are playing from behind the rest of the way, and that's one reason I love this tournament is you can see what coaches really think of their guys and what they're willing to do when the chips are down.
Maybe Flukie isn't quite as bad as Blewett and Bummer, but that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Chris, we've not had a chance to visit with you since the smoke cleared from the Super Regionals, but obviously we've got the field for Omaha. What was the most jarring event coming out of the Super Regionals for you?
Out of the Supers, I mean, I think Murray State going another another round. Let's see. I'm trying to remember who got knocked off. Louisville over Miami wasn't a surprise. Gosh, I can't remember who really fell in the super round that shocked me. So forgive my. It's funny how you just
that's
flush
okay.
and
It's
move
been a
on.
while. We've
The
slept
regionals I
since
can tell
then.
you a little bit more, but yeah.
But Murray going over to Duke, and we were able to have Dave Jarvis, the Belmont coach, on earlier in the week to talk a little bit about Murray, with them both coming from the Missouri Valley and that kind of thing. And the one point that he made, I think, is probably the point that's obvious about Murray State. Their offense hasn't seemed to be impacted by, the high level arms that they have faced in the postseason.
It's been the craziest year. Like, this is, I think, one of the most interesting tournaments I remember, because I cannot think of a time, Maurice, where things are stacked more against a Coastal Carolina or Murray State, because if you've got anybody who's worth anything, they're going to get, poached in the portal isn't even it. You're going to have teams tampering and all kinds of stuff. And Murray's resources are awful. You've seen the pictures of the field and stuff, I'm sure. And it's hard to make it under any circumstance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really hard to make it in this climate. So I have a ton of respect for Murray State and Coastal for both getting here. And I think that alone makes it a pretty interesting tournament.
At least Coastal's got a national championship to their credit. Murray getting there as a 4 seed, I think I remember maybe they got somewhere close, went down this road a little bit in 79, but you've never really thought Murray State and Omaha or Murray State and Super Regional,
I don't think they've been to a regional since 2003. Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So what does that speak to, the fact that they were able to do it? We talked to Coach Jarvis, and I was on with Calvin White from Main Street Clarksville, and the point that he made was, maybe when you've got kids that have been together for a while, is that chemistry that you've been able to build up over an extended period of time, because you're not getting portal guys. If anything, you're losing portal guys, but being able to keep a core together for a period of time like that, is this the payoff for that?
I guess. And that's the thing. Like, if your guys are any good, other teams are going to want them. And I wouldn't think Murray's got anything to keep them. And that's what makes it crazy to me. But I don't know. I've been trying to, ever since the regional round, which that dealt us a lot of shockers, right? Vanderbilt, Texas, Georgia. I don't know that Georgia was a shocker because of the draw, but the other two kind of were to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been just trying to okay, what is this? Did we overrate the SEC? I really don't think so, because you look at and I know there's aren't a lot of mainstream computer ratings in baseball, but the ones that are out there, because I'm just looking for something independent and unbiased, unless they build bias in, those all had the SEC rated highly. You look at mock drafts, draft lists. It's flooded with SEC players and ACC players. I feel like SEC and ACC make up at least half of, all the top 100 alone, if not more than that. Probably a good bit more than that. And the SEC's got a bigger share of that than the ACC. So, if good players make good ball teams, it wasn't that. Unless the scouts are overrating the guys. So, I don't know. Baseball stuff happens, right? I'll give you example. Auburn lost 2 games. Well, I'll give you 2. Alabama's who I meant to go with, and I'll circle back to where I was going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, I thought, should have been a host. If Alabama had any name other than SEC on the conference attached to it, it's probably playing a series at home. Instead, it gets sent to Southern Miss, which was playing really well, and it's a home field, and it's a good team. Not a great team, but a pretty good team. I thought Alabama was probably better. And then they draw a Miami team that caught fire for a weekend. And if Cade Snell gets a gust of wind, he hits a home run to win game 1. Instead, he gets called about a foot or 2 from going over the fence. They drop in the loser's bracket. They lose a 1-run game to Southern Miss the next day. That's baseball. I think sometimes that just happens a lot over the course of things, right? And it's not usually a Murray State, but I think that's got to be some of it. Maybe, the other side of the coin, Mo, is that if these guys are just turning into hired guns, and you're seeing guys like Tennessee's 3 stars started at one started at Coastal Carolina, one started at Duke. They both went to Ole Miss, and then they ended up at Tennessee. If these guys are just hired guns, looking for a paycheck, then you wonder, okay, a lot of these guys are going to the draft. How worried are they about draft stock and all these other things? And how big a distraction is it when a kid comes in and takes your position and gets paid a lot of money to do it? And, the coaching staff didn't have a relationship with them 2 years before or 2 days before. And they've had one with you for 3 or 4 years. I wonder, is chemistry part of it? And I realize I'm going all over the map, right?
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know how you explain it otherwise, because it feels like the conditions for teams like Coastal and Murray to get here right now, it's always tough to do, but especially in 2025 with everything working against them, maybe it was just a fluke thing, and maybe if you play it over again, it doesn't play out like that. But if it wasn't, you do wonder about chemistry and continuity, and maybe having a little something to prove on the big stage.
Correct.
Chris Lee, Southeastern 16, joining us here on Main Street Sports today. And Chris, obviously, Southeastern and Conference, something you know very well. Only 2 remaining, but still 2 powerhouses, though. They, unfortunately, I guess if you're an SEC fan, get to face each other in their first game tomorrow night. But still probably, despite all the losing that the SEC had in not only the regionals, but some in the Super as well, still probably your top 2 teams, or at least 2 of the top 3 or 4 that should win this whole thing, right?
Yeah, I think they're the best 2 teams in the tournament. And I know that 2 teams in the Super is a disappointment. It's a big disappointment. I thought they could get, in Omaha, I thought they could get 5 or 6 teams in before the tournament. But at the same time, it's twice as many as the next best conference got in, which was 1. But yeah, it's a shame they're playing each other, because I think that, to me, they're the 2 favorites to win the thing. Same side of the bracket. I would have liked to have seen it differently, but that's how the seeding got drawn up. Maybe you could argue that they should reseed once we get to Omaha. I would kind of like that better, because I don't ever remember a game 1 for 2 teams like this one.
Right.
Yeah.
And are they the 2 highest seeds? Arkansas is the 3, LSU is the 6.
Are they the 2 highest left? Let's see.
They are.
Coastal was a 13. Oregon State was an 8. UCLA was a 16, 15, 16, and Louisville was,
and the rest
was not.
were unseeded, right?
So there you go. Yeah.
Man, that's tough. That's real tough.
Yeah, outside of those 2, let's step away. A lot of unknowns. Murray State, you just talked about. I guess anything is possible when you get to this point, because you've made it here. But some teams are coming in hot. You have to obviously play hot. But Louisville, after beating Vanderbilt, they're no stranger to Omaha, right. And a pretty strong unseeded team, I guess, if you will, for them. Coastal, we just talked about, still tied at 4, by the way. Arizona's been hot, and Oregon State, they've got national championship accolades. So there's still a lot of good teams that I guess wouldn't be a shock if they made it to the final series.
Yeah, I have thought of this as kind of a disappointment, because I would have liked to seen a Vanderbilt in there or a Texas, and you really want to see. It's fun to have some underdogs, but and I'm glad Murray State's there, but you would like to see maybe some other higher profile teams than, say, in Arizona or Louisville. But you did. But then when you start looking around and going, okay, let's look at the rosters here. There's a lot of talented players. I'm looking at future drafts. Just for example, I was watching a minute ago. Biggest at bat of the game. Fluky one of the biggest. Fluky for Coastal. Again, could be a first rounder. A couple years facing Brendan Summerhill. First rounder this year for Arizona. Arizona's got a couple more. I like Oregon State. I think I've kind of been late to the party realizing how good they are, but like they'll throw Dax Whitney probably in their 2-hole. He's in the conversation for 1-1 and 27. Ava Arquette, their shortstop, 6'5" shortstop who can do it all, probably going to be a top 5 guy here in a couple of weeks in the draft. Not rounds, but overall. Louisville's got some players. It's got Zion Rose. It's got Patrick Forbes. I think Rose could be a first rounder next year. Rock Chalowski for UCLA, shortstop, another big shortstop, might be the best player in the tournament. Hit 23 home runs, slugged almost 800 this year. So even though it's not the field that I would kind of like to see in some ways, like if you really look deep and look at how talented some of these teams are, there's still a lot out there, even for the Oregon States, the Arizonas and Louisvilles and the teams that nobody's really talking about because all the attention is Murray State and the 2 SEC teams.
Chris, you talk about Oregon State and how you were a little late to the party on them, but it feels like you kind of have a mulligan on them with the implosion of the Pac-12 and them having to play basically as an independent this year. They really did kind of fly under the radar, even with their pedigree.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a great point. And I'm glad you said that because, like, think of that for a minute. You don't have a conference all of a sudden. Like, think of the scheduling. And I mean, I don't know if you've ever been to Corvallis. No. It's not like Nashville where there's like a bunch of teams that can line up and play Vandy in the midweek within a stone's throw of campus. And then you got to schedule all the weekend series when everybody else is playing conference series. I mean, that was crazy. They could have lost. Think of how they could have lost all their players. I mean, Who wants to come back and? I mean, Ava Arquette could have played for anybody. Trent Caraway could have played for anybody. Dax Whitney could have gone pro a year ago. They got those kids on campus, kept the ones on campus they had, and they got here. And probably one of the reasons I slept on them, I just didn't know about the schedule they played. And when they played good teams, like they played Oregon was probably the best team they played. They got beat all 4 times they played. And so I just kind of, it's like, okay, well, I've seen what these SEC teams could do and I know who they've played. Hats off to those guys, man, for getting here and going through all that.
It's a mismatch. I'm looking down their schedule right now. They went out to Hawaii for a series in May. They played Iowa in a series. I don't know how they did that. Maybe the Big Ten has an odd number of teams. I'm not sure, but I mean, they were all over the place. They managed to stay west of the Mississippi for the most part. They did play Rutgers in a one-off, looks like. I can't tell if that was a neutral site or not, but yeah, basically playing as an independent. I mean, they've got Pac-12 on their website, the logo, but I mean, they didn't play a great deal of Pac-12 teams. They played Washington, which is in the Big Ten. They played UCLA. So yeah, I mean, the schedule that they were able to somehow cobble together and the fact that it was, representative enough for the NCAA to, sign off on them as a tournament team. I mean, they played a 3-game series against Long Beach to close the season. Because they didn't have, a conference tournament because they're not in a conference. So.
And I'm trying to think now, like, you see independents in football. I can't tell you the last time I saw an independent in baseball. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but like, I don't remember it.
Yeah. That's wild. But, so the fascination with Oregon State is something that I think will draw a lot of eyes. Here in Omaha over the next little bit. Chris Lee of Southeastern 16 joining us here on Main Street Sports today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Again, Coastal Carolina and Arizona currently ongoing. It was 4-4 last I looked. Oregon State and Louisville play the nightcap tonight at 6. Tomorrow you've got UCLA and Murray State, and then Arkansas and LSU in the nightcap. And again, number 3 Arkansas, number 6 LSU. The 2 high-seeded teams in the field. I don't know that we will ever get to a reseeding, Chris, just because I think everybody likes kind of being able to follow the bracket from the onset to Omaha. But man, that's tough to look at.
Yeah, I guess the counterpoint would be like if you do knock off a heavyweight, then maybe and some of it is other teams doing work for you. I get it, but I mean, Murray didn't really get that. Murray was on the road for 2 regionals. I don't know. I guess you could say if you got there, what you got through, you earned your spot. Maybe that's no, and probably I'm probably for just letting it play out the way it is. But in this case, I think you do have a particularly good matchup, and you do hate that they're playing each other game 1,
and that they're on the same side of the bracket.
Right. Well, either way, but yeah, but
Yeah.
And especially because I think they're the best 2 teams in the tournament. And I actually, when we did our picks, I actually picked LSU to win tonight and Arkansas to win the whole tournament because I think their pitching's that deep. But they run into Cade Anderson tonight, who is maybe the first guy off the board here in a couple of weeks.
It's going to be an interesting couple of weeks out there, as it typically is. Away from Omaha, what was your reaction to Virginia not taking long to fill the spot that was vacated when Brian O'Connor went to Mississippi State?
Yeah, that was a really good pull. He's recruited very well. And by the way, he took the top player in the portal with him to Virginia today in AJ Gracia.
Took the top player in the portal and took one of his recruits from Duke, I guess. Marcus Stroman's little brother.
Oh, Stroman's going too? Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah. Well, and Gracia, of course, was his guy at Duke. So, not a shock.
I'm still a little stunned by O'Connor to Mississippi State. But, again, it just feels like everybody in the climate that we are in collegiately, everybody's trying to find their way either to the Big Ten or to the SEC, I guess, and with good reason.
Yeah, there's some talk that maybe they were a little late to react to the newer environment, and I think the resources were a lot more at state. And of course, baseball is. Man, I don't know that other than Kentucky, I think football is the biggest sport everywhere. Mm-hmm. But that might be the one where some other sport is bigger than it, and that's baseball at state. But either way, Zach Silman, I think, knew he needed to make an impact, and man, he worked at that until he got his guy.
Pretty solid. Chris Lee, Southeastern 16. You can follow him on Twitter or X at Chris Lee 70. Chris, appreciate you taking some time with us this afternoon, and enjoy Omaha.
Thanks, man. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, you too.
Fly hat, Mo, by the way. Did you
it
notice that
was.
hat?
It was. Yes.
Man, that Atlanta hat.
I like it.
Little baby blue action.
Chris knows his ball.
Yes, he does.
Let's take a break here on Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. When we come back, it'll be the final segment of the show, and it's the weekend warm-up. We get you ready for the weekend. Stick around.
Being in Tennessee, we wanted to try to keep it as local as possible, so we have an entire section of our menu that is just dedicated to local whiskeys like Uncle Nearest, Jack Daniels, of course, George Dickel, Nelson Brothers, Greenbrier whiskey, and all of our taps are all local. From 2 o'clock until midnight, we've got food every day for you guys. A good handful of appetizers, some entrees, and a couple salads and things like that. My name is Ethan Kanata. Please come down and see us at the Pick Lobby Bar here at the Omni in Nashville.
At Delta Dental of Tennessee, we know our success begins and ends with providing superior quality service, and that includes serving those who need it most. This year, we're celebrating 25 years of giving back to the community we call home. Delta Dental, along with our Smile 180 Foundation, supports Tennessee's dental colleges and oral health education, children's hospitals, free and reduced cost dental clinics, and other like-minded charities. Here's to the next 25 plus years of ensuring healthy smiles.
There's a line that links us all, Most of the time, we don't even think about it. But it's everywhere. Illuminating our neighborhoods, empowering our businesses, and helping us to recharge. Whether it comes from our grids, the sun, or a kind heart, we believe in the power of good energy. And as your family and region continue to grow, you can trust that we'll always be there for you. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
Welcome back to the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. I'm Maurice Patton. That's JP Plant sitting in for Wade Neely. It is our final segment. That means it is the weekend warm-up. The Nashville Soccer Club hits the road with a 10-game unbeaten streak in tow as they pull into Chicago for tomorrow night's 7:30 matchup against the Chicago Fire. You know, it's been fun keeping up with these guys over this last little bit. I mean, again, 10 games that they've either won or drawn, and it'll be intriguing to see whether they can keep that up against the Chicago Fire team that they handled pretty well down here not too long ago.
Yeah, I imagine Wade has been uber excited with the string that Nashville SC has been on. By the way, Mo, I'm curious, have you been to an SC game?
I have not been, and we'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Yeah, no. So the Fire again, they won their last time out. Speaking of 7-1, they defeated DC United 7-1. But they have I'm sorry, the NSC features Sam Surridge, whose 11 goals are number 2 in MLS this year. And he and Hani Mukhtar lead the boys in goal contributions. I like that phrase. Surridge has got 11 goals and 3 assists. Hani's got 13, 7 goals and 6 assists. So 14 and 13 goal contributions for those two as, again, NSC heads into Chicago for tomorrow night's matchup. The team announced earlier this week a new initiative. Locals only, first match on us. Geodis Park offers an electric atmosphere unlike any other event in Nashville, and we want locals who haven't yet experienced Music City Soccer to see what makes match day so special. This is from Jacob Hanselman, Vice President of Ticketing and Analytics for NSC. I'm certain that when they experience Nashville SC for the first time, they will enjoy it so much that they will fall in love with the game and become lifelong fans. For the next 6 home matches, anyone who has not previously purchased Nashville Soccer Club tickets within the club system will be eligible to apply and enjoy their first match gratis. Yeah. So that starts with their July 5th match at Geodis Park against Philadelphia Union. So, you know,
well, I
might have to show up.
Yeah,
on
you might
July
have to.
5th.
I think you would enjoy it. You know, I think it's a lot like hockey when hockey first came to Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be a fan, but once you go see it in person and feel that energy, feel the cold of the ice, and how you know, the game can change on a snap with, you know, because a goal can happen almost any time, and soccer is a lot like that. Aren't very many goals, so when a goal is scored, it's a big deal, and the energy is incredible at a Nashville SC match, and you know, it's such a cozy park too.
You know, I've driven past it a few times when obviously
really
there
nice.
was nothing going on, and yeah, it does look intimate, I guess. But you know, to your point, I think the energy and I think the athleticism, you know, when you actually see those guys in person is, you know, feels like it would be striking. I mean, I've watched some on TV and that kind of thing, particularly as they've been on this roll here of late. It's just
no pun intended there, right?
Yeah, none
Striking.
at all. But I mean, when you've got a team having some success, and this team isn't that far removed from not being very successful at all. Last year was a nightmare, and right now they are sitting third on the table in the Eastern Conference. I'm picking up some jargon.
I know. I'm proud of you, Mo.
I'm picking. I sit and listen to Wade and our guy Valaire and different folks like that. I'm kind of getting there.
You're not a Hall of Famer for no reason, right?
I might have to make my way out there. Yeah, I'm kind of, especially again, like I said, with this this new initiative that they've got, this locals only thing. I think that's a stroke of genius on their part to get some folks in there again. And there's no time like right now to do it. I don't think. I think everybody is already excited about this team and what they've got going on, and it kind of feels like a strike while the iron is hot for them. So kudos to them for doing it. And yeah, I might have to get me some blue and gold and go out here pretty
Get you a scarf.
I don't know that I necessarily. Well, I'll get a scarf. I don't know that I'll wear a scarf.
Oh,
and
come on. No, you will. If you go to a game, get you a scarf and wear the scarf to the game. Doesn't matter what the temperature. It's not for the warmth. It's
okay.
That's a very soccer thing to do.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I've got a Nashville SC scarf.
Okay. So what you're telling me is all the cool kids do it then.
Something like that, Mo.
Okay. All right. It's not the only thing that we'll be watching this weekend. NASCAR heads south of the border. Chip and I spoke, mostly Chip, but Chip Walters and I spoke with Heather Williams of WCYB talking about this weekend's Cup Series stop in Mexico City. Denny Hamlin will not be in attendance, though, for Sunday's race. Coming off of his win this past weekend at Michigan, he and his fiancee Jordan gave birth Tuesday.
Family obligations.
Family obligations, absolutely. And I think it'll be just fine. Ryan Truex.
Maybe he just didn't have his passport, Mo. Up to date. Convenient.
You couldn't ever so convenient. No. I think I don't.
He's
think
doing the right
that's
thing.
it.
He's doing
absolutely. Ryan Truex will be driving the number 11 car in Mexico City this weekend. So we're happy to announce the birth of our son. Everyone is doing well. My main priority is to be here at home for Jordan and our family for the next few days. When she is able to go home, and we transition to life as a family of 5. So apparently they have 2 already. But Denny Hamlin sitting this one out. Will be interesting to see what that does in terms of the field. Number 3 on the Cup standings, and coming off again that win at Michigan this past weekend. So what else we got this weekend?
Got football.
We got football. We got all sorts of football.
American football.
If you are, there we go. Football, not football. The UFL championship is this weekend, and for the first time in 4 years, there'll be a spring football championship that won't involve the Birmingham Stallions. It's the DC Defenders and the Michigan Panthers that will be playing tomorrow night at 7:00 on ABC. The game is in St. Louis. The Battlehawks had a chance to host the championship, but DC said, nah, knocking them off 36-18 in last week's semifinals. So again, it's the Defenders and the Panthers tomorrow. And I think that there are quite a few DC Defender fans in Middle Tennessee all of a sudden, because former Tennessee State quarterback Shannon Harris was recently named UFL Coach of the Year. He is serving in an interim role atop the Defenders after and I just lost his first name. Reggie Barlow took the head coaching spot at Tennessee State, replacing Eddie George. So Shannon Harris is your coach of the year. Former TSU assistant Fred Keiss, now offensive coordinator of the Defenders, is your UFL assistant of the year. And former TSU and Ravenwood receiver Chris Rowland was named all UFL wide receiver and return specialist. No shock to anybody that's seen him play.
Sounds
So
like the DC needs to move to Nashville and become the
Nashville
Middle
Defenders?
Tennessee Defenders.
There you go. I like that.
Local tie-in.
Well-
You mentioned interim head coach for Harris. I doubt much longer, right? Doesn't he have to
You
get
know,
that-
I don't know. I'm interested.
How
I
has he
don't.
not been named head coach already?
I don't know. I think that's a great question. It seems like a no-brainer, but
I mean, what more?
who
can
am
you
I
do?
and what do I know, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
I would have
Again-
I would have lost the over under on that for how long it took for you to get a who am I and what do I know out of there. So I love it, Mo.
I need to check back. I don't know how DC and Michigan came out early. Oh yeah, I do remember that. I think Michigan handled them pretty good earlier this year. Hang on. Their website isn't easily navigated. Yeah, Michigan won 38-14 back on May 4th. So the Defenders will be looking to reverse that and pick up a UFL championship this weekend. So good luck to them. Also, speaking of football, the Nashville Cats, we mentioned earlier this week, took it on the chin out at Billings, Montana. They've got their regular season finale tomorrow night as they take on the Corpus Christi Tritons, not at Municipal, but at F&M Bank Arena up in Clarksville. So you have to go up 24 to check out the Cats in their season finale. Get there early. Go to Johnny's Big Burger.
There you go.
Thank me later.
Mo, is that, and you may not know, but is there something going on at Municipal, or are they trying to expand and get a Clarksville crowd?
I think they're trying to expand and get a Clarksville crowd.
Okay.
I think they played a game or two up there last year, so this
Okay.
is not necessarily out of the norm. But and I think they're also doing a salute to service or
Okay.
salute to the troops or something like
better
that
place.
as well. Exactly. So big game. Again, the Cats coming in at 5-4 after that loss out at Billings. They are in a log jam with 5 wins in the Arena Football 1 standings. Albany is at 9-0. Southwest Kansas is at 7-4. Those are your top 2 teams. The top 4 teams go to semifinal action next weekend, I believe. And so right now, the Cats are in 3rd place. They need a win to really secure that playoff berth in a road game. They were in play to host a semifinal before that loss out at Billings on Monday, but they will try to salt that away and sweep Corpus Christi after having defeated the Tritons 44-39 earlier this season. So we'll be keeping an eye on that, among other things, as this weekend unfolds in the sports world. JP, what you got going on this weekend?
Well, we've got a little golf to watch, of course. Love the majors with the U.S. Open. It is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you, Mo, by the way, and all the fathers out there. And how about this? I'm going to be going to the Sundrop Festival in Pulaski tomorrow afternoon.
What is the Sundrop Festival?
I'll tell you on Sunday because I've never been.
We'll keep you posted on that. I would
I
love
will,
to more
but it
about
sounds like it's
the
going to be fun.
festival.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm
Oh,
looking
I'm sure
forward
it
to
will be. Yeah. All right. Well, that's going to do it for the weekend warm-up edition of Main Street Sports Today, presented by the Tennessee Orthopedic Alliance of Columbia. Be sure and join me Monday at 2:00. Not sure who with just yet. Might be JP. But at any rate, JP, thanks for sitting in for Wade today. I really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun.
Bailing me out. And again, y'all have a great weekend. We will see you Monday at 2:00.